showtime.
Dynamite Download.
Welcome to Dynamite Download, your source for positive coverage of all elite wrestling.
This is what pro wrestling should feel like.
Oh, you guys, positive energy.
I think that created a little moment in itself.
You're saying I have a better record than Kenny Omega and Samoa Joe, and now I'm going to have to wrestle them.
I've never seen someone able to break down like wrestling like he does.
Mariah May said boom.
My real story does connect with a lot of people.
People that you need to be careful in the locker room.
I definitely think that women's wrestling has been elevated.
I was like deep diving into like cults.
I never say never about anything.
Yeah.
Raw horse.
Raw horse?
Oh my god!
Amazing.
I had to smack him around a few times to fully gain his respect.
Awesome.
This podcast is quite frankly the drizzling shit, if I'm being quite honest.
Today spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Woohoo! Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Boom! Welcome. It feels good to be back in the saddle. I want to say, before we get going, thanks to Court and Brent for filling in last minute for me. Little saga popped up that had to step out for on Thursday, but thank you all for popping in there and had some great combos. Loved listening to the show and contributed in the way I could. But man, it's episode 169. It is Thursday. It was a hot show last night, that's for sure, man. It was a sizzling show. The crowd was so into it. Another thing, we keep banging and tooting this kind of same horn, like the smaller intimate venues. If you can have a impactful, active crowd, it translates so well on TV, and it just gets you as a fan pumped even more to watch everything single segment. And
absolutely, the crowd was hot.
Was really good. Yeah, very hot.
That crowd was hot. I've noticed that this was something that Tony Khan had even mentioned about looking at some smaller venues, the smaller compact venues. That first of all the acoustics, but the fans were fantastic. They were popping for everything we were popping for. They were really into every match. It was such a great vibe, and it seemed to continue throughout most of the night. Everything was great, and I enjoyed it as little wrestling as there was. And you and I were talking about how there seemed to be a lot more talking segments, and there were really only I think 4 or 5 matches, but you're right. The quality of it was a show. I enjoyed the show that we watched last night.
I texted you and I almost want to unsend it because I was like, okay, enough talking. Let's get to more wrestling. But as things were progressing, no promo was too dragged out. We had a few that could have been shortened over the last few weeks for sure, but I felt like everything was impactful. Everything was a directive, and it did flow good. I would have liked another match. However, because of the tight promos and the backstage segments and everything, before we dive into more depth of it, I got to say happy birthday to one of our followers, Bobby. It is Bobby's birthday. He is on our Instagram chat right now. I want to wish him a happy birthday from Dynamite Download. And you know what that means?
Birthday, Bobby.
Birthday?
We bring the boom. That's what we do. We bring the boom. We bring the boom.
I'll only sacrifice you all for that much, but I just wanted to say happy birthday to Bobby. He's in the chat on Instagram. We appreciate you all always coming in every single week, participating in the draft and the fantasy draft, which we're going to get into the updated standings very soon. So happy birthday, Bobby, from everyone from the DDL crew, and thank you for supporting us over the years.
Yeah, Bobby, you rock, dude. We love you, man. We love having you part of the Dynamite Download family. You've made the draft really interesting, and again, we'll get to the numbers soon, but anything can happen. Yeah. We'll get to those in a second. But our guys is don't sleep, man. Careful, Icarus. That's all I got to say. Careful, Icarus. Can I have that mug, the Careful Icarus mug, please? We got to remind SBD, as he thinks he's first place, but we got to keep him humble. Keep him humble in the chat, by the way, everybody. SBD's think he's feeling himself.
It's a baby face pop. It's not a heel pop here. But let's show the most recent updates. And as we continue to speak on this, every point is at a premium this season. So, unfortunately, or a couple teams in our league, those tag teams. So, like, other than FTR or Craig getting a couple 2 points tops at a time, I know that helps out a lot when you have a show like last night that only had 4 matches. And so out of those 4 matches, I think we had was it 5 points possible? Or 6?
Yeah, I think so.
Very few. We have 9 teams and 5 possible points.
Let's take a look at the standings now. Well, look, you're still at the top.
It's me. It's SED.
Yes.
But hey.
Careful, Icarus. Hey,
we're about a month away from Revolution and a month away from our +3. So it's a lot going to be festering up. We're going to be stirring it up very soon. So marathon, not a sprint on this. And I love how tight it is. And FTD with her 3 points right now is still far from out of it, of course, and everyone is far from out of it. The way that points are at a premium, a lot of my team could be off the radar, and I had a surprise return last week at Collision with Roosh. So
yes,
it seems like Collision is starting to be almost like a Rampage combo to Collision with how much wrestling we get on Collision. So
yeah,
Dynamite sets the ball on the tee, and Collision really knocks it off of the tee and gives us a lot of that. But man, it's tight. It is. I didn't realize how close you creeped up pretty quick there, Mind.
Yes, I did. You never, ever, ever sleep on Mind Runner, on the kid. Don't sleep on the kid, even though I got gray hair. I'm the kid. You got to be careful. I'm right there with Steven and I, right behind you. We got Cray there too. Brian and Courtney battling it out. Brent in fifth with 5 points. Bobby, the birthday boy, with 4. And Full Tilt Deb, hey, she might be just letting us burn all our energy right now, get blown up. And then Revolution, she's going to turn it right around. Don't forget, of course, we are going to get our extra 3 or 5. I can't remember what we decided. Remind us in the chat what we decided.
I think +3, but
+3, but
I mean, so many people
Baker's
are free agents, and as soon as I hate to even admit this, as soon as Orange Cassidy's back, Steven's going to start collecting those W's pretty dang quick.
Yep. And then if Darby gets off of Mount Everest, Craig could jump to the top. You never know what's going to happen. But we did have some awesome returns, and we're going to definitely talk about that. But I'm excited. This has been this is probably the closest that we've had as far as the draft. This has been the closest that of parody that I've seen. It's incredible.
For sure. Last night's show, I absolutely loved the way it started. It was something I don't think we've seen in AEW, the way it started. You had Renee essentially conducting an interview off camera, but live to us at home. And then it cuts to her outside interviewing Jay White. And so I love the transition. And it was almost like a one-take shot or a one-shot thing, the way it was. And then him turning around, going, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then boom, the brawl. That just kicked off Dynamite. I think it was such a great way to kick things off. And really, I think as a fan, if you were there, you would have got even pumped up even more. It was great. There's a ways like an opening like that will be fired up for the show 100%. But I also love a good opening where it has the pyro and welcome to where Raw's War would always do something like that too. Yeah. So this was a great way to start the match, and then obviously kicking things off with the Ospreay match was the first wrestle match. But I love the way it started, and the Death Riders, and then we're going to get a Brisbane brawl. What was the match called? Is it another another star-studded tag team match down under. So that Grand Slam is looking better and better and better, and it is definitely pay-per-view quality match. Even though this isn't a pay-per-view, but it's one of those niche shows that feels huge because it is going to be huge.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. And I know, yeah, the dirt sheets and the video versions of the dirt sheets, you know who they are. They've been poo-pooing on this whole stuff going on with Tony Khan and Brisbane, and I guess there was a miscommunication on which venue. Even Meltzer and Alvarez were kind of poo-pooing on a lot of the logistics, but I mean, I think we're cooking up to a really awesome show. Yeah, the stuff that Tony Storm and Brian May are cooking up has been great. We may end up getting something with Harley Cameron Mercedes. We'll have to see what that transpires. But this has always been a collision. Grand Slam has always been either collision or Dynamite. It's never been like a pay-per-view. And I don't think it was ever advertised as a pay-per-view or premium live event, whatever you want to call it. And I think a lot of people were thinking, because it's like I think they were mistaking this to be like an All In. But All In's going to be in Texas. That's going to be incredible. It's going to be like a week worth of credible stuff going on. This is more like the first show in Australia. And that's, you love it or hate it, but sometimes you gotta plan for the stuff that we're getting for Grand Slam is paper. I think we're getting pay-per-view quality matches. It's just not a pay-per-view. So to compare it to like a All In or a Full Gear is unfair, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to just like the other Ash shows. That's the same type of thing. So getting into the matches, what you want to kick off the show with?
Yeah, well, let's kick it off because the whole show is fantastic.
Well, before
great matches.
If you follow us on Twitter and all that, we got a special guest coming in. Brent's coming into our chat and our show live, fresh off the boat. Actually,
yes.
It's a ship. It's a cruise ship. It's funny because I love cruising, and we're gonna get his firsthand take from the Jericho cruise. We definitely had some major FOMO from seeing all the posts and seeing about the Jericho cruise. So I can't wait to talk to Brent all the details, the ins and outs, and hopefully Team Dynamite down for the next one in November.
Yep, and we're looking forward to having him on here at the half-hour mark. But I do want to first talk a little bit about. Do we want to go ahead and go to that first, or do we want to?
Whatever one you want. You pick one, then I'll pick one. We'll go back and forth.
All right. Well, I want to talk a little bit about the now. I as an overbooker, I'm known to overbook. I am yeah. Full Tilt Deb knows what I'm saying. I think sometimes I get myself overexcited, and whenever there's a mystery or there's going to be a surprise guest, I start thinking about. I start overbooking, and I think I may have set myself up for disappointment where. This actually made, now that I think about it, makes sense. We had Will Ospreay versus a member of the Don Callis family, and that member turned out to be Mark Davis. Now, this seemed a little rushed. I have to admit, I thought it was a little bit of a especially the way that Mark Davis stood against Kyle Fletcher was so adamantly, and at least he wasn't dressed like my auntie this time. He was in wrestling gear. I think we could have done with a little bit of something like where it was explicit beforehand that he's joining the Callis family under duress, that this isn't his plan, that this is something the commentators did a great job kind of explaining it. But I think a 100%. Lot of us were kind of scratching our heads. Also, I was hoping it was going to be the Speedball Mike Bailey. A lot of people thought it was going to be Trent, but I just felt like this was kind of a letdown. But I'm going to wait and see where it's going. And I think part of it was I had my hopes up for Speedball Mike Bailey, and this is where we're going with it.
you put Davis in line with the rest of the Callis family, that is one meat hog guy.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Meat.
aesthetically, it worked for that aspect. You know, he
Mhm.
came back as a babyface, trying to amend what Fletcher was doing and all this. And so, as you said, the commentator team did such a great job at explaining it. So did Callis, and he could have done that, added a little bit more within the promo for the crowd. But I think both wrestlers' faces and body language really, you could tell it played into that storyline. So I accepted it and I was fine with it right away. I was like, what? Why? Like, no pop, essentially. But I think it makes sense because hopefully it leads to down the line of some kind of reuniting with Aussie Open down the line eventually when Callis is, turned on everyone like he usually does, like the snake he is.
Yeah. I don't want him and Fletcher to get back together now, though. I don't want Davis and Fletcher because Fletcher's, he's essentially our Randy Orton.
So,
Randy
he's
Orton
even
team.
doing the same moves.
And we don't need another tag team in the Callis family because we've got the murder machines, and we need the murder machines to just start killing people.
Right.
But yeah, yeah, exactly. It makes sense now, but at the beginning, I set myself up for disappointment, I think, with that.
Match aside, the match was fine overall, but like the post, I was fine with it, and the storytelling I did enjoy. The post match stuff, Kenny Omega coming out, and I posted on the live tweet that we were talking about, and like, you need to give Kenny the keys to the kingdom and let him lead the charge firsthand of AEW because the guy is the heart and the soul of the company, and for him to be back, and I really hope that we're going to get week in and week out the Kenny Omega full time and see him just shine. And he's got to amend this Callis family and move on to bigger, better things. Essentially, this is great. We're getting Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay on the same side in a match.
Yeah.
Plus 2 elite performers with Takeshita and Fletcher that are still, not even in their prime, essentially. So, the pure wrestling that's going to be into this match is going to be tough to be matched, period. So I'm so excited for it. And I just want Kenny to, when he did his bang and all the pyro went off, I was popping for that at home.
I think it surprised him. I don't think he was expecting it to go off.
I thought that was an awesome spot for that. Shifting gears to the end of the show, I do want to touch base on that because I thought that was, this was a build up for weeks and weeks and weeks. One of the best building feuds as of late, in my opinion, with Ricochet and Swerve, and it seems like it's far from over. It's I don't think you can close the book on this one. I think you just turn the page and go to the next chapter of the story. Hopefully, because these two guys mesh so well together, whether it be promo battles, whether it be attacking each other, it just be like they have so many similarities, but also some really amazing differences. And this match, they just meshed so great together. Mm-hmm. And Ricochet was my top performer of the night. He took a win over a former champ in essentially like a clean way too. So I was like, wow, that was great for Swerve to do that because I think Ricochet needed the win more than Swerve because then you have Swerve trying to chase that again. So if the babyface wins, as babyface love a babyface victory and confetti, don't get me wrong, the chase is almost over at that point. So you want the heel to win, so you want a bigger payoff at the end. But Ricochet needed to win more than that, and especially stealing Nana's robe. Like, man, yeah, we're definitely not going to let that one settle for sure. What do you think of this main event?
He's embracing a bit of that Prince Puma kind of thing. I bet he starts wearing that. He reminded me of the Disney version of Robin Hood. With the king, the king thing. Yeah, I think he's going to really just play up this egomaniac thing. It's going to be incredible.
I love it. I love what both guys are doing. They've been doing fantastic stuff, building this up, and they should have announced it like weeks in advance. Like, this is going to main event the show. This is going to main event the show, even though we knew it was going to because of how important this match was and how much it's been pushed. But I think this main event absolutely delivered. I think it was the right call. It had a mix of amazing high spots, amazing 2.999 counts, and everyone got their stuff in. And definitely, especially getting that win, Ricochet is definitely SPD's top performer of the night. In the chat, who was your top performer of the night on that? But how are you happy with the result of this?
I think that was the right call. I absolutely agree with you that, Ricochet needed a W more, and it makes this a much more intense feud. Because if Ricochet lost, then I like that. As much as they kind of, when he made the initial heel turn, he was kind of a stooge, if you will. But they've really that's the thing that makes Ricochet a great heel is he's really embracing this obnoxious heel character, but he's still Ricochet. He's still able to do these incredible moves and have this chemistry in the ring. And I think this was the right move. I think, Swerve did a great job selling it. The two of them are taking their wrestlings to such a next level. Swerve has been able to grow with his promos. He understands the nuance, even just a look in the ring when something happens, just a reaction here or there. Those little things help tell the story. And Ricochet, of course, the who's instead of whose house, the who's bald Ricochet, who's bald Ricochet. That was and
it's so stupid, but it's hilarious.
It's stupid, but see, he feeds into it. I remember a great moment a long time ago in WWE when Kurt Angle first debuted. He was coming in first as this squeaky clean Olympic champion, but you could tell in his promos there was a twinge of narcissism in what he was saying. And so when he had his match, he was wrestling, that people were calling him boring. He grabs the microphone and says, "You do not call Olympic champion boring." And then the crowd goes, "Boo!" And that's, if you're a heel, that is music to your ears. And Ricochet is getting the boos. Ricochet is a great person to mess with, and he's reacting to those comments, and that's money. Because if you are a heel and you're generating that kind of reaction, you're doing a great job. That annoying laugh is fantastic. And Swerve, again, how I feel about Swerve. Put all the belts on him, but I love the way he is able to read and have that chemistry with him, and they have that reactions. I want this to be another, Ricochet Swerve, another him and Hangman. Fantastic match, fantastic storyline. And this is elevating Ricochet, and it's continuing to make Swerve a compelling storyline character without him having to go after a title right now.
Hunter, both guys' stock is rising with this feud 100%. And no one lost anything last night except gain higher value overall. And they're putting on a masterclass of wrestling in both the ring and setting up a match, setting up a feud. They're a masterclass. And I just got to give a quick props to Dustin Rhodes, because speaking of masterclasses, every single time the guy is on TV, he puts on an absolute masterclass of Wrestling 101. I love that he keeps saying he's the last of their kind, because he is spot on. And talk about being able to build a match in a snap of your fingers. He makes you feel everything every single time. The guy is an absolute pro. I love seeing him on the screen. And I think just like everyone should be lucky, should be basking in their glory to be in the presence of him, because he has so much that he has given to the biz, and he can do it all. He can do everything and anything in the biz, and he's proven that. And I love seeing him come out there when he dropped that promo on backstage to Jeff Jarrett, and then what we saw tonight. I was like, damn, man, it's like the passion, the fire, everything, like building. Like, obviously it runs deep in his blood, but he lives up to everything that the Rhodes name has, and for its reputation. And I loved it. Seeing it. He's going to be on Collision coming up. Can't wait to see him back in the ring.
He continues to astound me, and I love that he recognizes, And MJF too. I do want to make sure, MJF knew what he was doing, but like Rhodes is like the guy that you just like, if you need somebody, you like tap him on the shoulder at the last minute and say, hey, go out there and make a memorable promo. He's like, got it, boss. Boom. Memorable promo, incredible interaction. He played off of MJF incredibly well. Of course, MJF knew to go there with the your Whittle brothers getting all the attention,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. It was great. But then that promo afterwards, like Dustin reminds me of like he's like that. Oh yeah, Dustin. But when he cuts a promo, it's like, yeah, he's a freaking legend, and he's just, and this is why. And I think he's doing his best work. I know Goldust was a thing. I think he's doing his best work here in AEW, and that was one of the best. That promo was such fire, and it really makes me hype. He can hype up a match, and he understands that. And I really hope that the younger talent are picking his brain and asking for him to advise him. And I do hear that. I know he works a lot with the women. I know Thunder Rosa and a few others, they talk about there's, I guess, Wednesday morning practice. He does strike me, from my understanding, that a lot of the talent, he's very open, available. And so for him to come out there, that's again, he reminds us who he is, as if we needed to remember.
Exactly. Let's transition into your top performer of the night.
My top
glamour, Tony Storm.
The timeless glamour. My top performer last night. All right. Again, now I gotta make sure I tell you were laughing at me on the chat because in our text, because I had picked Buddy Matthews as my top performer up until this point. But when she came out, timeless Tony Storm at playing the role of Mariah May, and how there was so much going on with this match. And again, one of my favorites is the one and only Queen Aminata, but she was great in it. But the everything that timeless Tony Storm was doing with this performance, the hair extensions being a different color, the doing the thing with the ling and then just like licking her finger and just and I love the fact that throughout the match the hair extensions kept coming out. Like there was a couple times where Aminata had like grabbed her by the hair and was like, pulled out her hair extension. It was just so blatantly in there. But you also got to give credit to Mariah May, because Mariah, once again, just like Trevor and Swerve, Mariah May knows how to react, because the reaction is the other part of the story. And they kept cutting back to Mariah, and she was making her snide comments, but her reaction to this, and I know there's haters online, and there's haters about saying this doesn't make sense. This makes perfect sense. It's simple. It's mind games. This whole thing about, Tony time and all that, and how it was just a performance. That was all mind games. I mean, just enjoy the show. It popped me so hard. I was clapping. I loved it. It's fantastic. They have taken this, I was actually a little bit disappointed when Tony Storm won. I was hoping someone like Harley Cameron or someone else would have won. But now I'm super hyped up for this match. I'm excited. This is going to be fantastic. And Tony's another one that continues to entertain.
This was definitely one of the biggest swerves that we've had in AEW as of late, where she returned to her timeless. When she returned as this rookie and all this, and it made total sense now, big picture wise. And gosh, there should be no reason that she does not get the gold back, because I think like the build has been one of the best between this and the tag match with Ospreay and Omega. These two matches I'm definitely the most excited for, but every single match is going to be awesome in 9 days. And so I just can't wait to see what happens out of this. I feel like you need to pull the trigger with her winning, because, I mean, yes, you could stretch this out a little bit, but I think it's time to close this chapter, have her retake the belt, and run with the timeless Tony Storm 2.0.
I said this on Mission Pro Spotlight tonight. I said that if there is a an Emmy, or is there maybe it's a Tony Award for a performance for a professional wrestler. Tony Storm deserves it. I feel like this, and I say that sounds like hyperbole, but it's not. I think this is just master class. I mean, everyone's loving it. There's such a deep storyline behind it, and there's so many subtleties. It's great. It's popping me. I'm enjoying every minute of it, and it was a great match too. Fantastic.
Right. It was. Props to Queen.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm SPD. I'm having. I apologize about this, but I'm having something just interrupted. We just got a message from AEW. It's a 20-second message. Let me just play it here. I have no idea what this is.
Hey, Bobby, this is Tony Khan. I want to thank you for all of your support with professional wrestling and wish you a very happy birthday. You are a valued member of the Dynamite Download Galaxy and a huge supporter of women's wrestling around the world. I personally hope you have a tremendous birthday.
Wow. Happy birthday, Bobby.
Dang, that was nice of TK being able to record that during our show for him.
Yeah, I
very
think
thoughtful.
He's very, very thoughtful. Thank you, TK. We appreciate you.
Birthday wish.
Yeah, and happy birthday, Bobby, once again.
You know, I want to dive into the D3. I got a D3 for you, Mind Runner, before we Brent. I want to get some time on Cruise because I'm definitely a big cruiser and got lots of questions about the Jericho Cruise. So a couple things for D3. I know we don't have an official intro, but I got my first question for the D3 from SPD. If you guys, this is your first time seeing the D3, it's 3 questions that we ask each other, kind of like our fast 5 in a way. Give a quick or short or long answer, your choice. But first question for the D3 for you, Man Runner, is who is the most underrated AEW superstar, male and female, to you?
Male and
female. In the chat, feel free to chime in and give us your thoughts on this. Most underrated, you think?
Underrated. I would have said. I would have said Harley Cameron like 6 months ago, but now I think she's getting her flowers, so I can't say Harley Cameron. I'm actually gonna go with the power couple. I mean, they're actually married, but I think Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, because Kip is so much better than he's been allowed to show. That whole streak when he wasn't getting booked, but he kept showing up at ringside with the box on his head, saying overlooked, underrated. There was he was doing his own storyline, and it should have gone somewhere. His whole persona, you know, I think there were several opportunities to build a faction around him, Allie, Penelope, and the Butcher and Blade. There were a lot of opportunities. I do really like that. You know, it's sad, of course. We wish Luchasaurus the best on his recovery, but it's great that he's finding a spot with Christian. I think this is great. And again, there's a potential for him to turn at some point, but I think that Kip Sabian is criminally underrated. I think he's the forgotten pillar because he's been around since day one. And Penelope Ford, for crying out loud, I mean, she is just tremendous to watch in the ring. I mean, yeah, she's beautiful, but she also has, like Mariah May and them, where the reaction, she understands, like she sells, not just in the physical part, but with her expressions. Like I remember distinctly when she lost to Britt Baker one time with the lockjaw, she gets that, like she really sells it. And you know, she's a gymnast. The gymnastics is so much fun to watch. We demand Tony. We've been good. If you want to give another birthday present to Bobby, maybe consider this. But we have been loyal AEW fans. Please, for us, for the sickos, book Lady Frost versus Penelope Ford. Please. It will be a 5-star, 8 stars, and if it was in the Tokyo Dome, please, Lady Frost, Penelope Ford. But anyways, Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian are my picks.
All right, good choices.
Yep.
As a teacher, Give Mercedes Moné her AEW run a letter grade.
Okay. Now it's funny because in Virginia Beach City Public Schools, we have a proficiency grading system where it's AP for advanced proficiency, P for proficient, then DP is developing proficient, N for needs for novice. So basically it's like, I say, but if I was going to give a letter grade that most of you,
normal letter grades,
I'm going to go with normal letter grade. I say it's a B plus.
Okay.
And here's why I give B plus. And now this is because of her latest feud with Harley Cameron, the stuff that she's been doing with the matches she had with Statlander. I don't think a lot of this has been as much Mercedes' fault as it is, I think, just the booking and the need for more time on the show. I think there's been some directional concerns, and there may be, I think some of the issues that have hurt Mercedes Moné's time, I think, are the same issues that sometimes trip up AEW in general. She's had banger matches recently. I think her she's finding her groove in AEW, so that's why I give her a B plus. 2 months ago, it probably would have been a C, but I'm gonna say B plus, and I think she's improving.
All right. If you, as a fan, if you could take one finisher from anyone at any era, what would it be as like a mark out moment?
As a mark out moment,
like what if you could take someone's finisher? What finisher would you want to take?
Well, I mean, right off the bat, I'm thinking the whatever that finisher was that the Tony Storm, Statlander, and Willow did with that little trifecta thing. What finish? I'll just say the sweet cheek music from Tony Storm. How about that?
I would totally pick Stone Cold Stunner and just totally flop like The Rock and like just like do one of those flops. Like, taking a stunner would be awesome. Get flicked off, kicked in the nuts, then stunned.
Yeah, there
you
go.
Like a badge of honor.
Would be.
Or like people's elbow would be really fun. All right, man. That's a good D3. Let's bring the man in. He's got his sea legs still.
All right. Let's bring in a member of Dynamite Club Gold. There he is, Brent the Brain. What up, dude?
What's up, guys?
How you doing, Bo? You got your sea legs still?
Oh man, yeah, I'm getting back. I'm still a little beat, a little tired, but man, what a trip, man!
Yeah, Jericho Cruise has been definitely high on my bucket list. I'm an avid cruiser for one of my favorite vacations in general. So that's always kind of been like a theme cruise on my list. I had no idea you were going, and definitely some FOMO for sure. And we would love to go eventually. I mean, was that the 5th one? I think then the 6th one's coming up in November.
No, their 7th is coming. This was the 6th.
7th.
Lucky number 7.
Was it 3 nights or 4 nights?
It was 4.
And how many cumulative hours of sleep do you think you got in those 4 nights?
You know what? I probably slept a lot because I mean, I was probably going to bed depending on the night and how tired I was, anywhere from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. But I was probably getting up at like 11. It's because, geez, you're in the, I was just in a regular stateroom without like a balcony or a window. So like, it's pretty dark in there. So like, I could have probably slept all day and not even know it.
Yeah, that's the tough thing about interior rooms. Like, I don't mind it getting that because like the cruise is like you're barely in your room. You should be out and doing stuff, especially theme one. So to me, like if we go on a Jericho cruise, a balcony obviously would be nice, but if you want to save a little money, then do an interior. Like, who cares? Because you should be out and about socializing for sure on that. How long have you had it? Did you get booked for?
Oh, geez, like I just decided to go like December 27th.
Oh, really? There were still cabins available that late?
Yeah, like it was like a last minute thing. They started releasing all the AEW people that were going, and I was able to like, get the approval for my wife to go. Sweet. So it was just kind of like it just came all together like real quick, which usually my AEW trips are like that. Like I decide like 2 days before I'm gonna go somewhere. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Baltimore today and go to the show, and figure
I'm
it
gonna
out. As
red eye
like,
to San Antonio. No big deal.
yeah,
That's right. So
that
sometimes you just gotta be improvised like that, and that's even more fun.
yeah, definitely. But you can see this. I sent you guys one of these schedules, which is cool because it's like jam packed. Like it's like there's stuff I missed because I was doing something else. I mean, but it was like a constant flow of like activities, and it was so well organized. SPD, you said you've been on cruises before, right?
Lots of probably been on in my life like at least 20. So I love.
Oh wow, dude!
It's the same thing. You get your itinerary or whatever for the day, and it's like you want to do all this stuff, but there's so many different things that pull you in different directions. You definitely have FOMO of wanting to hit it all, but you can't hit it all.
Yeah, and this was my 5th one, so it was like, as cruises go, they seem to be very pretty much all similar, like the boats and just this, how they do things. But like the crew they had on that ship, I mean, it was top notch. I just couldn't believe how smooth it was. And the other thing that was awesome about this is it's not like your online wrestling community. I mean, legit, like everyone was so cool.
Nice.
I mean, I felt like I basically like summed it up is like if you died and went to heaven and you were a wrestling fan, you'd be here on the cruise. Like it was, I mean, it was just everything that I could ever want in like a wrestling event and more. Which is also funny. There was a guy dressed as Jesus on the boat.
Oh, Wrestling Jeebus was there, huh?
Yeah, yeah. It's like I ran into him in the elevator. He's just a funny guy. It's so, but it's. I mean, I can't even believe I was on it, and I'm sad it was over.
Is there something you could have done differently to prepare for it? Like, did you feel like you were prepared going into it? Because a lot of times when I go on cruises, it's like, oh man, I wish I would have bought like a theme outfit or something different.
Mm-hmm.
And like, did you feel like you were prepared for everything that it offered?
I think so. I looked ahead of time to see what things were going to be like and like what was going to go on. I kind of had a game plan in my head of what I was going to do, and like as it went on, you diverge and you change things up. So I don't think I would do anything different. There was a couple shows I missed. Joe Hendry wasn't able to make it.
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry.
And like, cause he probably he was at the Rumble the night before. So I assumingly something happened. And I the show they put on though, instead of him, I think it was the Tony Storm and RJ City did like some skits, and I was somewhere else. I can't even remember where I was, and I was sad that I missed that. And Harley Cameron also did like I caught some of it, like a show, like she was singing other songs and stuff, and she's just fantastic. So
she's tremendous. Yeah, she and Jericho sung "I Hate Myself for Loving You." She joined Fozzy. Oh my goodness, tremendous!
Yeah,
and I always
it's really cool.
I always wanted to see Fozzy because I was always missing him when they would come to Pittsburgh. So like I got to see them, and it was awesome seeing that. Seeing Judas live, it was pretty awesome. And all like you're showing some of these pictures, all the like Will Ospreay was everywhere on the boat. Like anywhere I turned, like he was there. He was drinking, he was dancing, he was partying. And like how awesome he is as a wrestler, like one of the best in the world. He's like an awesome human being. He would like you would just go up to him. He would like sign autographs. He would get a picture. Get selfies. He just show up at karaoke and just start singing and the after parties he was dancing. I mean, and Mark Briscoe is the same. Like you're just walking around and there they are. Yeah. Tony Storm. I saw Tony Storm and Juice like all over the place, and like that's what's just so crazy. You're just like going to dinner and boom, there's Brian Cage. Boom, Tony Storm's there. And then like, so I'd always, you say hi to them, they say hi back, or like, I try to, one time when I saw Juice and Tony, I was like, aren't you guys famous for something? And Juice was like, I think in some circles.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
like being on the ship, like obviously when you go to a show, there's essentially like there's the crowd and there's the wrestlers. Like, does it feel like everyone's just kind of there to have a good time, and it's not like the over fandom part where it's like you gotta have like security because these fans are getting like too crazy, or it's just like like they're kind of just everyday people just like us, but they're people we love to watch on TV and do awesome things.
Yeah, that's like what I said, like with the people that were there. You might think you'd have like a rowdy and like crazy crowd, and people were drinking and having fun and letting their hair down, but like I think I didn't notice anybody disrespecting the wrestlers or their privacy, or like everyone just seemed like a big community.
Great.
It was just it was kind of like I felt like I was on another planet, and it was like a nice to get away, and like I'm just surrounded by happiness and like cheerfulness, and no one's complaining about anything. It was like
would you say it's a Dynamite download vibe? That positivity.
Yes, definitely.
See, that's one of the things I love about cruising is there's something about the vitamin C that brings out joy in everybody. Like, it's, to me, it feeds the soul, just kind of like escaping the noise of like mainland and the real world. Like when you're on a cruise, especially like a themed one of like something we love so much and are passionate about, like there's essentially no worries in the world. You're just there to enjoy yourself 100%. You go to a show, you got to drive home, you got traffic, then go back to the grind. It's like you're there and you're immersed, and you're just like, you almost forget about the outside world. That's what I love so much about cruising in general. Then you mix in pro wrestling and people that we love to watch that are, Dynamite favorites and in our draft, and like we watch them every single week on TV. So it's just like the perfect recipe to like an awesome weekend.
I mean, one of the cool I was the one night I was in the hot tub, and like it's right by the ring. It's actually right to if you see that picture with Thunder there, it's like to the left of her there. So I was just like chilling in the hot tub, and then I didn't expect to see Thunder wrestle. And she came out and wrestled Lady Frost, which was like, I'm sitting on the top of the hot tub just like cheering them on. It was just so amazing.
Yeah, and Thunder says that what happens on the Jericho Cruise stays on the Jericho Cruise unless you take pictures. But I understand she successfully defended her Riot Cabaret title against Nyla Rose, and with an interesting finish. Are some interesting finishers in that match.
Yes. It was one of the wildest matches I've ever seen, and it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
And which is kind of crazy is after their match, I ended up getting to have dinner with Thunder.
Oh.
Which in the dining room, which was talk about I can't even explain like how cool that was.
Right.
Just to sit there and hang out, eat dinner, and talk about like everyday life, and just even hearing like how this match came about, and like it was just like I don't know, it's hard to explain of like how my mind was just blowing like left and right.
It does sound. It also, if you know, but it sounds like Nyla also had dinner during that match, but we'll move on from that. If you know, but it definitely Jericho Cruise not for
mind running or mind blowing.
Yeah, exactly.
So for in terms of pure wrestling, like I didn't really get to look too deep into those daily schedules. Like, is it the wrestling shows kind of like organized like an event, or is it kind of like a free flowing thing, or is it like almost like an episode of whatever they're doing? Essentially, or is it just kind of like free flowing throughout the day? Like, 1 hour we're going to do wrestling from 12 to 1, and then we're going to do another hour block from 5 to 6, or whatever that is.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. The nice thing was too, they kind of had like their own little like theme going from each wrestling show, where they would have like feud or people, so it kind of tied together, which
Okay.
was kind of nice. Which was cool. Jay Lethal was doing Black Machismo,
Oh yeah.
which was, I mean, he was like, hey, I'm gonna be wrestling Lex Luger over here, and it was Brian Cage, like he was,
Yeah.
and he picked Lexi Nair up on his shoulder like Liz, and I ran into Jay Lethal a lot too on the ship, and he was just fantastic to talk to.
My dream is to come up to Jay Lethal with a Slim Jim and just see what he does.
Yeah,
Like,
he might eat it.
He might go. All of a sudden, just watch him transform into Black Machismo right there.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
great.
I was shocked because I didn't think I'd ever see that live again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Right.
Tremendous.
it would be cool.
To see wrestling shows. I mean, you were the hot tub time machine spot. I mean, it's the perfect spot. Was it hard
Yes.
to get like close up there, a good spot for wrestling shows? Did you have to get there a little like extra time in advance?
Yeah, I mean, depending on where you wanted to stand, some people I noticed would, get up close to the ring for maybe an hour before. I just kind of moseyed in whenever I ate so much ice cream, it was insane.
Unlimited soft serve, right?
Yeah, you know it, and I love soft serve, and it was so good.
Yeah.
So like, I'd make my rounds to go get some self serve and go out back to the ring or go back to what I was doing. I legit like knew I lost 12 pounds before I went on the cruise because I knew I was just gonna go buck wild and eat food like crazy.
Oh, that's what you do.
So, but yeah, I mean, you could. There was a limited like seating. There was a lot of standing for the wrestling, if you know. So, and sometimes you could like mosey in somewhere, but anywhere you kind of like the upper deck or like you could see the action pretty much anywhere and get a good seat whenever.
Right. I mean, you should be standing for that anyway. You're at the middle
Yeah,
of the seat
exactly.
for awesome wrestling. Get out of your seats.
Standing and protect your drink.
Yes, exactly. Did the so obviously like theme cruises, it's a premium thing to do. While you're on the ship, other than like your typical things, like what was like extras that you maybe had to pay for that we might not be advertised, like certain meet and greets or certain things like that? Like were any of those like extra stuff?
So the Legends meet and greets, I think, were more, and Scott Steiner was one of them, and Jushin Thunder Liger. I think those were the two. I think they were $100 each, which I did not do.
Yeah.
But all the photo sessions and autograph sessions that you were like pre-assigned beforehand, they gave you a little card to tell you when you could go, and then you went and got a ticket for the photos. You got a ticket to who you wanted to see, and then you waited in line. And then if you wanted to go to another person in that session, they had 4 people, I think, at a time. You had to go back and get another ticket and go get the picture. They wouldn't let you. Well, it depends. It was a gray area, but if you're going to get photos, you weren't to ask for autographs, and vice versa. If you go to the autographs, you weren't to get the photos. I really respected that. I know some people kind of try to take advantage, and I also didn't want to like bother the wrestlers as I was walking around. Like the only time I did was when I first saw Juice and Tony Storm come out of an elevator, and we were the only people in the room. So I was just like, this would probably be a good spot to get a good photo because I was marking out. But other than that, I could have got a ton more pictures, but I just I felt like I wanted to respect their time, and like because a lot of people were like, you go out, they're leaving a room and like you have a trail of people like trying to hound on them, and and it wasn't all the time, but like I said, I just tried to respect that aspect of it and got the pictures whenever I could, when the time slots were.
Right.
So it actually, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, mine.
Well, I was just gonna ask. It's like it seems like though that that was most people felt were kind of like you. Like most of the fans were very respectful, and it seemed like the wrestlers were a lot more relaxed around
Yes.
it, and it created
Yeah.
that vibe the whole weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And it was, I mean, when we ported to the Dominican Republic, they had their like own little like private area that they had like a pool and like a lazy river and bars and it was cool. You just showed up like Lady Frost was chilling in the pool. I was walking down and Lance Archer came up to me and was like, "Hey man, do you know where I could get something good to eat?" And I was like, "I don't know.
I don't know where they had
The
served
horse." I wish I would have. I was like, "I don't know, man. I'm not from around here." That's what and he just started laughing, and like there was a map right beside us, so he just started checking out the map. So oh, dude, and they had a lot of Nigel McGuinness did his magic act.
Oh, cool.
And man, it's so good, and it's real emotional. It was fantastic, and talking to Nigel after he's an awesome guy. I mean, that was really cool. That was different. They had like comedy acts. Like Big Bill is so funny.
Like I saw that Big Bill and Enzo had a reunion.
Yes. That was so cool. Enzo was everywhere on the ship too. I mean, you wouldn't. There were some guys you didn't see a lot, but usually like everyone was out and about mingling and having a good time. The RJ City. Oh my gosh, I love RJ City so much. Like I've always kind of really been into the hey AEW and then more and more like his sense of humor, like a lot of people don't get. I think I love it. It's so good. I forget he was talking about comparing Magic to like pro wrestling in one of his comedy scenes, and he came into the elevator and I was there and I was like, "Yo, RJ City." He's like, "Hey man." I'm like, "Dude, Magic's real." And he's like, "Yeah, I heard that." Like, I don't know. I just, and the first time I saw him in the elevator, I like kind of marked out. I'm like, "RJ City." He's like, "Dude, it's Friday night. You have all week." Like, dude, it's too early for this. It just started. I just started dying. It was just so good. And then, geez, like there's bands. They had I think they were called Galaxies of the Jukebox. They're like a cover band that played like 80s music, like so good. Oh yeah, the Outrunners. Oh, like during the comedy act, they were fantastic and just great guys. When you run into them, it's just like, wow. So there's just like a ton of stuff like other than just wrestling. Like I think I was watching more other things other than the wrestling because I think I missed a couple things going on in the ring because something else was going on. So it was just mind blowing. Like I just felt overstimulated like the whole time. Like
That's why I was like, how much did you sleep? Because for me, like even just cruising on like a non-theme cruise, it's like I don't like to sleep that much, even though it's a vacation to relax. But it's like for me, my mindset on a cruise, like I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss a meal. I don't want to miss an activity. I don't want to miss the nice weather or all this stuff. So it's like to me, even though I love to sleep and that's what you need to do on vacation, I don't ever really get much sleep. It's like I need a vacation from a vacation.
You can sleep when you get off the boat. Sleep when you get off.
Yeah. But like, I did so much walking. It was almost like, if you're going to Disney World, I just was like logging my steps. Like it was like 30,000 a day.
Nice.
Like, and normally when I'm home, if like I'm not doing much, I might be doing like 5,000 or 6,000 if I go for a walk, might be 10. But like I was doing over 30 every day.
Wow.
I was pretty sore, just my body.
The couple of rules we have, my wife and I, when we go cruising, is always take the stairs because you're eating so much and soft serve and every desserts, and go dancing every night. And those are our two little cruising rules. And so that's what we always try to live by when we're going. If it's a live music band, go dancing. Go to the dance club. Like at least get some dancing because my wife loves to get down and boogie. And so the cruise life, like obviously by the sounds of it, seems like you would do it again.
Yes, yes, especially a wrestling fan, and if you're an AEW fan, it's to me it's almost like a must if you're like diehard. Because yeah, I've been to a lot of like live events and like some other events too. It's probably the most involved I've ever been in the wrestling world. Um, from just like being like an avid watcher and not really doing much other than just watching the TV product up until AEW came out. You know, I'm like on the move. You know, I'm always about just going to. So yeah, like and like you said, I love cruises. So like
Right.
it's like yeah, it was just kind of mind blowing of like
Brent,
how
Brent,
awesome.
let me ask you this
Mhm.
question. November 7th to the 11th. That's the next one. What do you
2026.
what do you say?
I thought it was
2026?
2025.
Oh,
Let's
really?
look this
Is
up.
it
Yeah, it's
2025
this
or
year.
2026?
Is it
Wow, that's
2026?
close.
Well, whenever it is, what do you say? Dynamite download trip on the Jericho cruise.
Oh, I would if I could. Yeah, if if it's something I could like swing, you know what I mean? I'd definitely like it'd be definitely awesome to go with you guys. Because I was by myself, which a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was one of the. I was there wasn't a lot of people there flying solo. So, but it's just how it worked out. But I do all kind of like wrestling stuff by myself because I don't have a lot of people around me or friends that really care or put up the money to go.
Yeah, it looks like go up to this say 2026. So
Yeah, that's what I thought.
yeah, go back. They said that the one you just had, it said looked like it was 2026. I'll go up a little bit.
Oh yeah, right here.
Yep, 2026.
Yeah.
Dang, that's so far away.
But you know what? We have plenty of time to prepare for it.
Right.
And I think we need by then we'll have new merch. We'll be able to. I think we'll set up ourselves a little Dynamite download invasion.
Oh yeah,
See invasion.
Dynamite download Speedo if I have to.
Oh, you know, we gotta bring 80s clothes to represent the Outrunners.
Right.
We gotta dress our model clothes. We gotta touch tips. You know, we gotta do the whole thing. I think we definitely need to make our presence known in the next one.
Right.
And I'm all about it. I know Full Tilt Deb will get on the boat and she'll ditch us to go hang out with the cool kids. But that's just Full Tilt Deb.
There are lots of cool kids.
Yeah, let's do it. Dynamite download. We're going on the cruise. Let's do it.
I would love it, man. I guess I should have read the fine print. I thought it was 2025. That would have been great if there was one at the end of this year, because like so much has happened in AEW that we're like, involved, but to have that be, almost 2 years away, that's wild. Like Jericho usually pumps one a year at least, so maybe it'll.
Yeah, I think they wanted to try it at a different, like in the fall instead of in the beginning of the year.
Yeah. So I mean, who knows? I mean, that's almost 2 years from now. Like, obviously, the way Jericho's going, is nothing's stopping him anytime soon. But like, you would think you'd want to strike while the iron's hot with the learning tree and his current health and everything like that. So I'm kind of shocked how far away it is. But I mean, chartering a private cruise definitely takes probably a bunch of advanced planning.
Well, that gives me more time to get my turn this keg back into a 6-pack for my my beach bod.
Man, thank you for giving us the tea on that. I've been dying to get a firsthand experience. It sounds, I mean, I've been sold for it already. You literally just put the cherry on top. Like, got me excited and definitely jealous of having that awesome experience, and happy for you to have that awesome experience and being able to pull the trigger last minute and have just like an epic, 4 days or 4 nights, 5 days on the ship.
I would say, like, realistically, like, fun factor wise, it was probably me being by myself, it was probably one of the best times of my life.
Wow.
You don't like one of those things. It's like, I'm not afraid, as I'm getting older, it's like, I'm not afraid to go to a concert or go to a show by myself like you were as younger. It's like, oh, I want to be this, but like, especially with a community like the wrestling community.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. There's so many people you could just run into and like welcome and join their groups and join whatever. And like this night I'm hanging out with these people. This night I'm hanging out with this people. And that's just the cruise vibe in general too.
It's like you were by yourself. You were solo, but you weren't alone.
Yeah. I mean, I had an experience one time I was in Rochester, New York at a Dynamite. Random guys I was sitting beside. He's like, "What do you guys?" Well, he asked me what I was doing after the show. I'm like, I don't know, going back to my Airbnb." He's like, "Dude, I know where the wrestlers are at, like at the bar." He's like, "Why don't you come with us?" And I was like, "Okay." So I just rode with them, and we hung out with, it was well. It was when Tony Storm and Thunder got together. Thunderstorm.
Oh, yeah.
Was that? And like that was another mind blowing experience for me. I'm just sitting there, and like Orange Cassidy's walking by, like Scorpio Sky, like Thunder came down. I mean, it was just like that was one of my first experiences, like being around wrestlers and like just trying to be cool and not be like marking out, like it's.
That's awesome, dude.
It's hard not to because you're a fan first, and then obviously you're a respectable adult and all that. So, but man, that's cool.
I just try to be, I try to be kind of cool and you kind of know your boundaries when you start talking to them, like where you might stand. So I just try to respect that and you know what? I've never had a bad experience talking to any AEW wrestler. Like, they've always been so kind.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised no one found out you were solo and tried to come back to your cabin with you, like Harley or Lance Archer, or
yeah. Well, you said it, Lance Archer.
Yeah. Or you just walk in and there's Orange Cassidy just sitting there, like, "Oh, hey, man, I'd be
like, yeah, that would have been cool if he was on the boat."
He would have just been, would you have noticed him? He would just be like, wouldn't that been something you just laugh, like you don't even notice him at first? Like he's just randomly just sitting somewhere, just chilling.
All that, I mean, that happens all like it does happen all the time. Like, you might miss somebody if you're not paying attention, because they're everywhere.
We're definitely going. Dynamite download 2026. We're going. It's done.
Man, I put a little sour note. I thought it was sooner, but yes, I'm down. I'm down to go. That's a good time for me.
We're going
that early November. That's when I just cruised. I actually cruised kind of over those dates this past November on the world's largest ship, the Icon of the Seas, for my mom's birthday, and so it was pretty epic. Loved it.
Oh wow, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was such a cool trip. I'm always looking to get back to the sea. It just depends on scheduling and all that with work, but I love cruising. And if you time it right, it can be very affordable and it's the best bang for your buck, in my opinion. But man, thanks, Brent, for coming on and talking about that. Appreciate it. And
thanks for having me, guys. It's awesome.
I hope what they do next year or for 2020, they actually film an episode they did before. And so I'm looking at the days of the week this is, because I thought that was really cool. I think they did it one of the first ones. So 7 through 11 is Saturday through Wednesday. So, I mean, they could do a live collision on the ship. That would be pretty sweet.
That'd be sweet. But I almost, if I could ask this, Britt, on one hand, I love that would be great. But on the other hand, do you think that would actually hurt the vibe a little bit if there was like television or versus the whole, because I saw wrestlers grabbing beers and I think Nyla chugged a Hurricane or something before.
Yeah. I think Enzo hit Nick Nemeth with a fish fillet sandwich or something. Yeah, I think you're right. I didn't, there would probably be someone would have to probably get on the horn. Well, if you go to a regular live event, I mean, people are drinking and having a good time.
Yeah.
So
what doesn't happen on TV doesn't get televised, right?
Yeah, unless they would do a taping or something, which wouldn't be a bad idea either. If they could edit it. But I did like that cruise that they did the live Dynamite. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. Total different vibe. Cool thing to do.
Yes.
Well, guys, great episode of Dynamite Download. Thanks for coming on.
Definitely.
Last week. in tonight. Appreciate it. Great show
Yeah,
last
anytime,
night.
guys.
Collision is going to be a fire show. I mean, they got some stacked matches for Collision in 2 days.
Thunder and Penelope.
Yeah,
I'm super pumped for that. That's going to be so good.
Great overall matches, and we're the best wrestle. And we appreciate you all in the chat. Once again, happy birthday, belated birthday to Full Tilt Deb, and birthday
And
today, Bobby, the Dynamite download community celebrating. We need the confetti back, mine. We got to upload the
We
confetti.
do.
We
I
should
thought
bring
I had
confetti
it, but
on
it's
top.
not there. I'll get it on there.
We appreciate you all. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week. Tune into our channel for episode 2 of Collision Control Center too, as well. So if you didn't catch that last week, then we're going to be starting a new thing where Collision Control Center. We're going to do a little recap, a little hot take about what happened on Collision, because so much happens throughout the week on both shows. So thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.